President Trump's one-way Twitter battle with a college basketball player's father escalated through this holiday week. In a tweet storm midweek, the president again took credit for getting LeAngelo Ball out of China and then took aim at Ball's father, saying LeVell is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair, and calling him an ungrateful fool. LeAngelo Ball and two other players were detained for allegedly shoplifting some sunglasses. Joining me now are MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter and Bruce LeVell, executive director of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. And with a welcome to you both, gentlemen. Bruce, I'll begin with you here. There was a guest in my last half hour who suggested the president's tweet had direct racial undertones when he called LeVell Ball an ungrateful fool, among other things in those tweets. Do you agree?
No. And thanks for having me. Happy Thanksgiving, too. We're still celebrating our Thanksgiving. I don't see that whatsoever, Alex. You know, the interesting thing is it doesn't really matter what, ethnic background a person would be. I think the president doesn't see any color with that whatsoever. You know, the interesting thing about Mr. Ball is, I was thinking about this earlier. I have two young college kids, one at two universities, and I wouldn't dare use my own personal platform subjecting my children to something like this, of this magnitude.
Right,
so I didn't hear anyone really discussing this, and that's something that we need to be cautious with, Republican or Democrat, whoever you are. You know, if the president, the governor, or someone does a favor to get your children out of harm's way, God bless it, thankful, move on.
Right, but
the other thing, too, is, this is a national security deal.
I understand that, Bruce, but you said you haven't heard anything, but we have here at MSNBC. So that tweet, I mean, it was divisive. Some have suggested this. Do you wish he never sent it? Because whether you think it was divisive or not, it has left that impression.
Well, I mean, you could take any type of tweet that the president or anyone does, Alex, and take it and put it in any kind of context you want. You know, one thing about the president, the Twitter is his direct feed to the American people.
I know, but we're talking about this
a counterpuncher.
Tweet.
Right. And, the other thing, too, though, what I was trying to say earlier, is the fact that, the relations that he's working with the president of China as it relates to the situation we have in North Korea, it even goes beyond a national security to interject in something like this that could be, result in something that could hurt something in our national security.
Look,
this is not good. This is not good
Bruce,
at all.
There's a left-leaning blogger in the Washington Post who wrote that we are seeing a pattern in Trump's public flaying of prominent African Americans. It's hard to avoid noticing a gratuitously ugly pattern in Trump's responses, in which Trump vaguely suggests either that his targets are getting above their station or that they're asking for too much and are insufficiently thankful for all that has been done for them. Now, the president responded to this article with this tweet, "Make America Great Again." Bruce, how is this not some sort of a dog whistle?
No, it's not a dog whistle, Alex. And here's the other thing, too. We forget about going through the campaign. You remember what he said about Marco Rubio, what he said about Jeb Bush. The list goes on and on. The president is a counterpuncher. Has nothing to do with anyone's ethnicity and everything. And, I've been dealing with this for the last 2 years. I'm here to tell you there is absolutely no relation to anything racial related to any of this. This is something that mainstream media keeps trying to paint a picture on this president, for the Democrat Party, which is failing, by the way. And by the way, if they keep this up, we'll be more victorious. It shows with our campaign coffer, with $120 million in our campaign coffer, and they're $3.5 million in debt. And every time they get pushed up against the wall, they throw this whistle of racism. It won't work, and it never will work.
How about, Jonathan, what do you think of the president's response? What does it mean in this context?
Well, it's just another example, Alex, of his demeaning the American presidency, as he's been doing from the very start. It's not the business of presidents, with all of the issues that they have to deal with, to get into these insult matches with various people, or in the case of the NFL, with professional athletes and a whole league now he's fighting. He always has to have a scapegoat. You don't have to be a dog to hear the whistle in this. That's very racial, whatever Bruce has to say about it. And we just keep descending further and further downward in our national conversation. It's a terrible moment for this country to see the office demeaned by the man who holds it. and our international relations, our standing in the world. We're a laughing stock in the world, Alex, because people look at us and say, can you believe the President of the United States is getting into fights with Time magazine, with football players, with the father of athletes? It's pathetic.
You know, Bruce, to what Jonathan is saying and the demeaning of the presidency, don't you wish the president hadn't sent this tweet? Because we're having this conversation. Wouldn't you rather be talking about something else? I mean, even if you don't want to, don't think the conversation is necessarily justified because you haven't heard about it, folks like Jonathan have. Other people have. So it's a conversation that's out there around, you know, Thanksgiving dinner tables.
You know, it's interesting on the Thanksgiving dinner tables. I was thinking about this all throughout the process during the primary as well as the presidency. You know, we as American citizens, we always say, you know, I just want someone that's going to tell the truth. I want someone that is just going to be real. You know, Alex, this is who we voted. This is a real living person that sits in the Oval Office that speaks directly to the American people. And his Twitter is a direct conversation to the millions and millions of supporters and voters that voted him in this presidency. So what you see is what you get. This is what we want. Mr. President, don't do away with the Twitter. We want the open line communication. There's some good things, some other things you'll agree, other things you'll disagree. But we like the transparency and we like the openness,
So
Alex.
I just want to double check, Bruce. This particular tweet, you're glad the president sent it then?
I like the directness of the president speaking his heart. And I think it's, you know, any person, once again, and I'm not trying to dodge you on this, can interpret any type of situation they want back and forth. But the president is very clear how he's said he was. He's been very consistent, Alex, since the primary. He is a counterpuncher. It's been clear from day one. So, you know, and this authenticity, I think, is very healthy for the American people, just to have a dialogue, to back and forth, to have a conversation. You know, so I think it's very healthy.
All right. Bruce LeVell, I'm going to say goodbye to you for this hour. Thank you very much. I always love seeing you and speaking with you about this. It's always a great take. Jonathan, you're coming back later in the hour, so you sit tight. Thanks, guys.